What's up, players? Welcome to episode number 64 of Ready Press Play, your weekly source for everything that's new and exciting in the world of video games. Every Friday at 6 a.m. Pacific or 9 a.m. Eastern Time, we discuss the top news of the week, notable releases on all platforms while we're playing, big topics of the industry, and the games we love. If you want to write anything to be read in the show, go to ReadyPlayNetwork.com or hit us up at Ready Press Play on Twitter and TikTok, or leave it on the comments below if you're listening to this on YouTube. No matter where you found us, please subscribe to the feed so you can get every new show directly to your device as soon as it posts. And if you like it, please leave us a nice review. This is April 2nd, 2021. I'm your host, Daniel Lima, and I'm joined as always by my co-host, Mr. Louis Menchakak.
You know, Dan, this would have been a very good time to do like a Nintendo 64 retrospective because it's our 64th episode. Or,
Good point. We should
yeah,
have thought of that. Why didn't you bring that up earlier in the week, Louis, when we're still planning the show? Why do you put me on the spot like that with nothing prepared?
I know, right? I'm just being mean. As I was like, oh, it's 64. I was like, haha, that's about it.
Isn't it funny to think about how the conversation about games and like the tech behind game consoles has evolved, where like at one point it was all about the bits, right? It was like, this is an 8-bit console versus 16-bit console or 64-bit console, right? They don't
Yeah,
really talk like that anymore. Now it's about the flops.
right. Oh, yeah, that's right. I
Yeah.
wonder how many bits we're at now. Are we at like 512 bits or something like that, or 1028 bits? I don't know.
I'm gonna sound very incompetent right now because that's the kind of thing that, as a game dev, I should definitely know. But I'm gonna go ahead and say that I don't know if I understand what the 64-bit for the Nintendo 64 really means. Like, does that mean that they had 64-bit like color? Or no, that doesn't make
I
any
think it's
sense. So
processing power. I think that's what it was. It was like something like an
right.
8-bit machine had, a smaller processor than a 16-bit. It was
Right.
double the power.
So if it's because it was a 64-bit processor, which now that I'm thinking about it, if that's the case, that would have been pretty impressive at that point. I think we're still 64 bits, but now we have multiple cores. I think that's how we started. You know what I mean? Like it would be like
Nice.
multiple cores still working in 64-bit. But I kind of want to look that up actually because I feel like I'm not sure I fully understand what that means. And whether I think it's being used. I think when we say like 8-bit, 16-bit, and then 64-bit for Nintendo 64, I think it may mean different things actually.
And the
Um,
PlayStation 1, its competitor, was a 32-bit system. True story.
yeah, interesting. Yeah, definitely good research subject right there. Well, let's start the show with some quick housekeeping. First and foremost, we did recently do our Halo Combat Evolved spoiler cast, and that has been dropped on podcast feeds all around the globe. I think earlier this week. My notion of time is a little bit off a few days ago, and I think it was also dropped on our YouTube channel. You can search for Ready Press Play on YouTube and find our YouTube channel. If you're watching right now on the Level 1 Gaming channel, that is not where we dropped the recording of the spoiler cast. So you're going to have to go and find the Ready Press Play channel. While you're there, just subscribe subscribe to it, give it a like, and check out that video.
The top right
Anything you want to
corner.
add there?
The top right corner. I'm gonna put the card in there. It's gonna like just show up right
Really?
there. Yeah, I did that last week
You're
with the
actually.
RPM. I just put the
Oh,
card up,
nice,
and
nice.
it just popped up when we talked about it, and that's what I'm gonna do here this time. We're just gonna have the card, so you can click on it there, or you can find the link in the description. And if you're a podcast audio listener, you're already on our feed, so it's just the episode that we uploaded before this.
So you're actually putting some effort into the post production of the video podcast. That's very unexpected, especially coming from you. You know what I
Oh
mean?
wow, thanks. Yeah, I did that last week, so I definitely do a lot of work with the descriptions and the tags and everything. So that's literally all I
That's
got to
true.
do. So
That's true. There's that as well. Sorry, I just had to send a quick text message here, but I'm gonna get back to it. I hated when I don't. Every once in a while, you're listening or you're watching a podcast or a show or something on YouTube, and then somebody on the panel will be like on their phone during it. Do you ever notice that? Does it ever bother you?
I've seen it happen before. I've never really too angered about it or agitated by it. As long as somebody
Hmm.
else on the panel is talking, then that's where my
Yeah,
attention will be. So.
yeah, that makes sense. Anyway, not to get into on that tangent for too long. Is there anything else you want to bring up on our housekeeping section,
No,
Louis?
just go to the YouTube channel, the Ready Press Play YouTube channel. I believe if all things are going well, we're going to be having weekly content on that channel going forward. I think we might be going into the realm of Ready Play Movies being the show that gets uploaded once a week there. So, and then on top of that, anytime we ever do a live stream, which I think I'll be doing some solo streams pretty soon for the Ready Press Play channel, all the live streams will be archived there.
That's true. That's true. So yeah, we got some ideas there, and we'll see how much we'll be able to get done. But yeah, at least one or two videos a week, I think, or we can guarantee are probably going to be coming out there soon. I'm excited to also do some rebranding of the channels as well. Make sure we got a nice banner, updated banner in there, and all that stuff. But nonetheless, Lewis, why don't you go ahead and get your sound effects board started so that we can dive into the Temple of Time? All right. So Temple of Time is the segment that we do on the first week of every month here on Ready Press Play, where we look back at flagship anniversaries that are being completed by a variety of different games that have come out in that same month throughout history. So today we're going to be looking at games that came out in April of previous years that will go like years ago, 10 years ago, 15, et cetera, in 5-year increments to really take a look at how long has it been since we've had some flagship games coming out. So we're going to start looking at 5 years ago. On April 2016, we had Microsoft announcing the discontinuation of the Xbox 360. Interesting to think about that one. Like that was what, like 10 years, 11 years actually after the release of the console. I guess that would mean, if that applied to the Xbox One that came out in 2014, that would mean that it would be discontinued in 2025. Did I get that right?
I think
Did I get that right?
2024.
I
It
think I
came out
got
in
that right.
2013, actually, not 2014.
Okay, that's right. That's right. 2024. So we'll see. We'll see if that's the case there. We got the Oculus Rift and the HTC Vive released. Enter the Gungeon came out on PS4 and PC. Job Simulator came out on the Vive. Quantum Break on PC and Xbox One. Bravely Second on the 3DS. The Banner Saga 2 on PC. Star Fox Zero and Star Fox
Oh
Guard came out on the
God.
Wii U. Alienation came out on the PS4, and Severed came out on Vita. Oh, okay, there's some interesting conversation points here. So start with Star Fox Zero and Star Fox Guard. The Wii U's, would you say it was like this, in a way, the send off of the Wii U? Like it was one of the last like big first party games to come out on the Wii U, right?
Yeah, besides Breath of the Wild being the swan song, it was the swan song before
Yeah.
the swan song, basically. And
Mhm.
it was definitely dark days for the Wii U at that time, I would say. And it's so hard to like think about the fact that when you have to be a ride or die Wii U game that you have to buy Star Fox Zero, which is a trash
You know,
game.
the funny thing, Louis, is that I actually bought this game last year. And you can buy it new, by the way. You can buy this new still for like $10 or something, which is very unusual for a Nintendo game. Like usually Nintendo games they hard time selling it. They probably produce so many of these units that they ended up not selling that it's actually really easy to find for really cheap still. And I bought it for collectible purposes. I've never gotten it out of the box still and never tried it. But I do plan on doing it eventually because I'm sure there's some level of value to it, even if it's like analytical value to just kind of see what they were doing with it and what they were trying to do. I don't know. Did you actually really play? Did you ever really play the game, Lewis?
Yeah, I actually played the first level of the game just
Mhm.
because, I just wanted to try it. I didn't really like the controls. I hated it, but
Yeah.
it was just something that I wanted to try. I think it worked because I think I tried it with my like niece or something like that at the time, and we were doing the two-player mode, and I think having one player focusing on driving and shooting and other person like focusing on aiming, I guess something like that, where it's like the controls got divvied up between two people, it actually kind of worked. But whenever you're the TV,
Mhm.
the whole concept of looking at the TV and then the screen was just not a good pairing, I guess. What I would say.
Right. Yeah, Star Fox is such an interesting franchise. Like, I wonder what it's gonna take to get it to go back to its heyday. Because I feel like you can. I'm sure Nintendo fans will be mad what I'm about to say, but I feel like there's only been like one good, like like overwhelmingly considered good Star Fox game, and it's just been remade plenty of times since then. Don't you think so?
Yeah,
Which is Star Fox
the
64.
Super Nintendo game of Star Fox was the first game in the series, and then it was basically remade for the Nintendo 64. It was
Yeah.
basically a remake, and then the 64 Star Fox 64 is literally considered the best game and probably the only good game in the franchise. But some people will defend like Star Fox Adventures on the GameCube. If
Mhm.
not the other one. There's two. There was two on the GameCube, and it was I think Adventures is the first one, which is the one that people don't like, and then there was the second one, which people were actually would defend that one. I forgot what it's called, but it's been remade again on the 3DS, Star Fox 64 3D, and then Star Fox Zero was essentially another remake of the original Star Fox again. So it's like they can't seem to go beyond just what they've already done for the first entry in the
Yeah.
series.
Yeah, it just feels like one of those franchises that has never really been able to make the jump into like, I don't know, like current gen gaming properly. But we'll see. We'll see if we're ever gonna see a Star Fox game. We will at some point.
But by the way,
Um
separate side note.
let's see what else we got here. So Severed came out on the Vita. I never played that game, but that's a game by Drinkbox Studios.
uh,
Did we just what just happened?
like
What was up with that silence? Did we get
Discord.
disconnected or what?
Yeah, Discord did that thing where it desynced us. Go for it.
Oh,
Go for it.
okay. Okay. All right. Um, no, it's fine. I was just gonna say that Severed is a game that came out on the PlayStation Vita 5 years ago, and it's crazy to think that in a few months we won't be able to buy it on that platform anymore. And it's a game I own it. It's a game by Drinkbox Studios, who are the same developers of the Guacamelee series, and I know that it's a beloved game. So just wanted to give that a shout out.
I can
So.
add to that to say that you can still probably buy it on mobile because they got ported to iOS and I
Mm.
believe Android, if I'm not mistaken. But I have it on my iPhone and you can play it like it's completely like based on touch anyways. So it's not like you're losing anything when you play it on iOS. The one thing I wanted to just go out and say is that why I don't know why, but I kind of feel like everyone still like I hear the title Enter the Gungeon a lot. Like it almost kind of feels like people are considering it like a brand new game
Mhm.
even to this day. Like oh, Enter the Gungeon is now free on on Epic Game Store or something like that or
Yeah.
whatever. It's like it's constantly relevant, and I see it on like Nindy's presentation where I think it might have been like Enter the Gungeon sequel got announced or something. So yeah, just throwing that
All
out there.
right. Yeah. I've never played it, but I've also heard the name plenty of times. Going back further, 10 years ago, so games completing their 10th anniversary in the month of April this year. The PSN outage lasted for 23 days. Oh, damn, that was 10 years ago. We had Patapon 3 coming out on the PSP, another game that you soon not be able to access in any way. Rio came out on PS3, Xbox 360, DS, and Wii. World of Tanks on PC. Mortal Kombat on PS3 and Xbox 360, which I believe that is the ninth
Ninth,
Mortal Kombat
yeah.
game. Yeah. Then Portal 2, a classic on PC, PS3, and Xbox 360. SOCOM 4, US Navy SEALs on PS3.
What
Was that the
happened to that
last SOCOM game?
franchise?
Yeah, I was gonna say like that's a dead franchise right there. Um, I actually remember like I never really played much of the SOCOM games, but I remember when it was either me or my brother. We had a PSP. I think we shared it. And the games that we had on the PSP was a SOCOM game.
Yep.
That was my only experience with that franchise. Yeah, dude, like that. I remember when that Mortal Kombat game came out, and I remember the hype around it. Kind of similar to, when 10 and then 11 came out. Um, I feel like that one you do this more than I can, but I feel like that one wasn't that like almost like like I don't know, like the one that reinvigorated the franchise and almost
Yes.
kind of like rebooted the franchise or tried to.
It was a reboot. They did that thing where they did time travel to the first three games in the series to
Hmm.
reboot the timeline because the timeline and the official lore has just been so cumbersome and like it was just crumbling under its own weight that they just needed to clear the table. And so they did that
Hmm.
with Mortal Kombat 9. That's why they didn't even call it Mortal Kombat 9. They just called it Mortal
Yeah.
Kombat. Of course, you got the whole DLC characters like Freddy Krueger and Kratos and stuff like that. Guest characters are always dope, and that's fire. And then I want to say, I mean, this is 2011. This might be the first like it's not to say that guest characters haven't existed, like, things like Soul Calibur 2 for the GameCube, that kind of stuff. But it kind of feels like this kind of cemented the idea that a good fighting game has to have guest characters.
Mm,
Everyone does it these days and stuff like that. But also, I just wanted to say regarding Mortal Kombat 9 is that it is basically the best way I can explain Mortal Kombat 9 is it's basically the Smash Ultimate of Mortal Kombat in the sense that
really?
everyone was there. The entire cast
Hmm.
of any character who's ever been in a Mortal Kombat like game, like just the character select screen was like 60 something characters or whatever like that. There was just so
Oh
many.
wow.
It was just so many characters, and I loved it. And I part of me kind of wishes that like a Mortal Kombat 12 comes out and they go with the roster as huge as that because I don't know like as I guess I'm in the in between competitive and casual where like I demand like bigger rosters but also at the same time they balance it with like a tighter roster. I don't know.
Right, right. Yeah, no, fair enough. Yeah, before we move on, I just wanted to give many shout outs to Portal 2, one of my favorite games of all time, and a game that we talked about on the podcast plenty of times. And just like a modern class really took what Portal did and elevated it to new heights. Really solid game. Can't believe I played that 10 years ago because that's the game that I played when it came out.
Hmm.
So cool. Now going back further, 15 years ago in April of 2006, we had Odama coming out on the GameCube. Or is that what that
Yeah,
stands for?
that's GameCube.
GCN?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Tomb Raider Legend on PC, PS2, Xbox, and 360. Battlefield 2 Modern Combat on 360. Brain Age Train Your Brain in Minutes a Day, commonly known as just Brain Age on DS. Mother 3 on the Game Boy Advance in Japan. Rampage Total Destruction on the GameCube and the PS2. And Ace Combat Zero, The Belkin War on PS2. Going back, I was talking about how I got Star Fox for collecting purposes, right? And I did that with Brain Age as well. It was a game that I never played, I never owned, and I bought it last year. I found it at a GameStop, complete in box with the manual and everything for really cheap. So I just snatched it as one of those collection buys.
Yeah, so I want to say a couple of things. Number one, Odama for the GameCube was the second to last Nintendo produced games or published games for the GameCube, with the last one being Twilight Princess. But
Hmm.
yeah, so basically it was almost their swan song. It's like this, that second to last swan song, kind of like that Star Fox Zero thing. And then also those bastards at Nintendo would never give us Mother 3, which is crazy. What a tease. They put Lucas in Brawl, but they never gave us his game. And I actually own a copy of Mother 3. I have a fan translation, which is they gave me like I bought a Game Boy Advance cartridge which had Mother 3, which is the unofficial English fan translation, so I can actually put it on the original hardware and play it that way.
That's cool. That's cool.
Still haven't played it though, but it's nice to have.
I
Also,
actually I
oh,
I
go
actually
ahead.
didn't think Mother 3 was that recent. I actually I've heard about the meme, like where's Mother 3 and all that stuff, but I thought it was an older game cuz aren't the other two games like much older than that? Aren't they from the 90s?
Yeah,
Mhm.
Mother for the NES was basically for the NES was the Famicom. It never came to the
Mhm.
West. And then Earthbound, which is Mother 2, that was for the Super Nintendo. And I believe it came out in like '99. It was one of the later
Mhm.
SNES games that got released before the N64 came out.
I see, I see. Okay.
Or
Do you
not
have anything else
99,
to
it
on the
might have
list?
been actually no, the N64 came out in 96, so it would have been 95. Okay, whatever. Anyways, got my dates confused. But I just wanted to say, I saw the cover art for Ace Combat Zero: The Belkin War, and it feels like that game. It feels like I've seen that game before. Like I don't know if that's supposed to be like a big title or not, but
Mhm.
yeah. Just
I
saying.
know I know the series. I've never really played it, but I have a friend who's a big fan of the Ace Combat series. He really likes them. So shout out to that. Going back further, 20 years ago on April of 2001, Snoopy Tennis came out on the Game Boy Color. Dr. Mario 64 came out on the Nintendo 64. Kirby Tilt and Tumble came out on the Game Boy Color. The Simpsons Wrestling came out on the PS1. Illbleed came out on the DC Dreamcast.
Yes.
And Batman Calls in Gotham came out on the Game Boy Color. Spider-Man came out on the Dreamcast. And Sylphid The Lost Planet came out on the PS2.
So I just gotta say, when I was scratching the bottom of the barrel when putting this list together here, but also I actually looked at what Sylphid The Lost Planet is, and it actually is like one of those arcade shooters. It looked pretty cool. So
Cool.
that's interesting. I didn't even know that can have a. I mean, I know the whole thing was like, oh, you can have an arcade at home, but like I never actually knew that there's something like that exists. It looked like a game I used to play put quarters into back in the day.
Is the Dreamcast Spider-Man game the same one from the PS2? Is that
I
what
have
that is?
honestly no idea to tell you the truth.
Okay. There's no way to know. So
Yeah.
just keep going.
So just want to say that the only two games worth of note is really Dr. Mario 64 and Kirby Tilt and Tumble. Interesting though is that on the Game Boy Color with their like adapter or whatever that you can have like gyro control. So yeah, that's fun.
Interesting. All right. Going back further, 25 years ago on April of 1996, Barbie Fashion Designer came out on the PC. Jumping Flash 2 came out on the PS1. The Legend of Oasis came out on the Saturn, and Indiana Jones and His Desktop Adventures came out on the PC. That's such a funny game name. I actually think I might have played Barbie Fashion Designer, and I'm gonna,
Oh.
yeah, I'm not so sure if it was that one. I mean, there were a lot of different Barbie themed games, when I was a kid. This would have come out when I was 2, but I could have very well have found it years later, like I did many other PC games. But I do have memories of playing a Barbie PC game in my youth, and actually enjoying it. So
Oh God.
you do with that information whatever you as you wish. Did you play
Yes.
any of these other games, Liz?
So I just gotta say, all of these games, man. Like again, like this is this. I guess April is not a good. I mean, I guess this is obviously a different time. Like it's only till recently that games could like release on any day of the year and be successful.
Right.
So I'm assuming that it's one of those kind of things where it's like, oh, it's a dry spell. Nothing's exciting is happening. We're gonna see a lot of like nothing happening as far as like the games industry. But the only title that I'm actually even like. Even remotely like somewhat rings a bell is the Legend of Oasis. I feel like that's like something that
Mhm.
I should know. Maybe it was something that was something on the Sega Genesis or whatever like that, but you know, um,
Yeah, sounds like a cult classic kind of
yeah,
thing, right? Like it sounds like one of those games.
exactly.
So I'm gonna group the rest here together, so that we can wrap it up here. But nothing of note, according to Lewis, came out on April of 91 or 81, but on 86, 35 years ago, Sega released the Wonder Boy, which was the first in the series on the arcades, and then 45 years ago on 76. Exidy released Death Race to video arcades. News of the game's existence broke nationally in newspapers in the first week of July. After, and let me, having issues with my mouse here, sorry. After a quiet nationwide rollout, the game sparks a public outcry over violence in video games. Oh, a tale as old as time. And is banned in many areas. I bet that includes Australia. And Taito released Speed Race Twin, a sequel to Speed Race that allowed simultaneous two-player competitive gameplay.
It was 45 years ago. It was the dawn of gaming in 1976.
Yeah.
And yeah, Death Race. I am familiar with that game actually, only because of the movie. There was a movie that came out starring Jason Statham, I want to say, called Death
I
Race.
watched that movie. Was that based on the game?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, wow. Damn.
Yeah,
Dude, that movie
so
was nuts. Like I remember watching that movie as like a teenager or something, and I turned it on. I was like, okay, some like cool like action racing movie. I thought, I'm jumping into some other, Fast and Furious knockoff or something. And then the movie proceeds to be extremely violent and gory. That's what I remember the most. It was just unnecessarily insanely gory.
Yeah, so that's Death Race for you. So of course, those like 8-bit, like not even 8-bit, maybe even like 2-bit graphics or whatever were not like, this is 1976 we're talking about. But yeah, everyone it caught on, and it took a couple of months for like the press to get wind of it and stuff like that, and then everyone's on a hubbub about it. So yeah, man, it's interesting that something as a tale as old as time, is just constantly being revisited even to this day. Even with the ratings board, no one, and everyone's like, no, screw that. We need more than that. We need to ban them. We need to ban GTA.
Yeah.
All
Oh
right.
well. We've seen that happen. We see it continue to happen, and we're probably going to continue to see it happen in one way or another in the future. But we'll see. Now, Lewis, let's move on to while we're playing. So usually I take most of the time in this segment because I'm typically playing a lot of different games while Lewis is just kind of playing Fortnite. But this week I haven't really played anything new. I've continued playing the games that I've already talked about before. So I'm playing some more Spiritfarer on the Xbox. I'm playing a few rounds of Fortnite here and there, not that often on Xbox as well. I am continuing to play Metroid on the 3DS, pretty close to finishing that. I'll bring some final thoughts next week when I'll probably have beat it. And continuing to play through the campaign of the story actually mode in Dreams, which is called Arch Dream. And I wanted to talk a little bit just about that. It's like so Media Molecule created this. I believe it's supposed to be like 2 or 3 hour long little campaign experience within Dreams. And I started playing that, and I'm probably close to ending it. I'm not so sure. Where you play as this character named Art, which is very like art, because it's Dream. It's an artsy game, and he's an artist. He's a musician. And I think you're supposed to be playing through his dreams and his imagination as you go through these different gameplay segments that play completely different from each other, and kind of understand his struggles in life and etc. But I actually very much don't like it, and that's the interesting thing, is that as much as I'm impressed by the tech behind Dreams, this particular showcase of the tech feels a little off to me, because the 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 character is just very unlikable. So like your character of Art is just this very like kind of rude and grumpy person that's kind of hard to be engaged with throughout his story. And it also just feels kind of like random, which I know is part of the appeal with Dreams, but I don't feel like the user generated stuff that I played I had more fun with, and just felt like more like weird and unique and interesting than the actual stuff that Media Molecule made. The stuff that Media Molecule made has more production value to it, but I just didn't find it that fun or interesting. So I'm a little bit disappointed with that. But I'm probably gonna finish it since it's so short. And yeah, that's it.
Interesting. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
That's it's kind of I my understanding of like the campaign is like the developers just kind of Media Molecule just kind of like threw things at the wall and see what sticks kind of thing.
Yeah.
I guess there's some pros and cons to it and stuff like that, because some people might like other things over others, various opinions and
It's like they're
stuff.
trying to show you the different things that you can do in the game. So like you go through, it's like these different chapters, and each chapter is almost like a whole different game altogether. But I just it feels like what it is. That's the best way to describe it. It's like um it's not like this cool, unique experience that you're gonna end and take with you and have some impact in your life, like something like Journey could have been, or even What Remains of Edith Finch, or one of those games. It feels like just a bunch of mini games put together to showcase the tech. However, in a not so fun kind of way. So that's my criticism of it. I don't think it really, like, I guess it does what it's trying to do, but I don't think it does it as well as it could. Now,
Hmm.
Lewis, I really want to hear from you though. Like, you've had the PS5 now for 2 weeks. Tell me you've played something other than Fortnite.
Oh yes, actually I have. As a matter of fact, I'm just gonna go ahead and do my battle bus really quick without doing the sound effect, because there's no point in making that a segment. Really quick, I just want to say that I actually went out of my way to start like redoing my presets. I'm at 62 presets right now. I unlocked Lara Croft, and yeah, that's. Oh yeah,
Cool.
and side note, there was a patch for the Nintendo Switch that upped the resolution and also lowered the file size. So there's the battle bus.
Nice.
Nothing really more to add to that other than there's your update. Okay, so the game, my game impression for the week is actually going to be Astro's Playroom, and I got to play it for an hour. I made time to sit down and try it out. And number one, it starts off with the controller demo, and there's like the whole like feel the triggers and feel the vibration, touch the touchpad or whatever, blow into the mic and all that kind of stuff. It's very like. Okay, I'm gonna just put it right there. It's kind of basic, but it was like I wasn't really that impressed, especially because this is a lot of like Nintendo shit already. So I was like, whatever. But
Hmm.
then going into the game, PlayStation is trying to out Nintendo. So I gotta say that there's a lot of cool like little like touchstones when it comes to like the character moving on like the different the different environments. So like the vibration when he's like walking on like the metal floor, you can feel every little thud. And then whenever the
Hmm.
texture sort of changes when he's on the sand and it feels different, and I'm like, whoa, that's pretty cool. Then there's also the whole like there was a previous for like the VR, there was the Astro VR where you can go to like a little slot machine and pull it and stuff like that. And then they basically they ported that over to this game, and then they used it with the triggers so that way you can feel like the resistance as like the hand is crushing the ball that you pull out from the little slot machine or whatever. And they're also, I just got to say that PlayStation is finally getting up there in years as far as being able to like play with your nostalgia and stuff like that, because there's a lot of
Hmm.
collectibles of like old like a PlayStation 3 disc or a PlayStation 3 or a PlayStation Eye or whatever and stuff like that. And so there's a whole room dedicated to displaying all of your merch and stuff like that that you've collected, and it's pretty swag because like your like little living room is like being built out as you play the game. And I just got to say that there's some also cool little puzzle feature, like it reminds me of like that 3DS Street Pass stuff.
Oh
um,
yeah.
there's also I just want to say that this game is actually kind of fun. Like, there's some very unique platforming happening, as especially in the main hub. There's like this. I found like this little like random ass little vertical slice, and I started climbing up it, and I'm like, oh my god, this is some pretty clever platforming, and it's like utilizing the space and taking you all over the room and ziplining it through, and it's like, damn, this is pretty nice. It almost kind of feels like they're using like Nintendo sensibilities in their level design and stuff like that. And I gotta say that I'm impressed by everything they've done with the controller and how they hide their little collectibles. And I really want to platinum this game if there is a platinum. I'm pretty sure there's a platinum. But I already got a couple of trophies for stuff, doing
Yeah.
stuff that I would naturally want to do. Like there's a diving board, and I'm like, oh, you did a high dive. Here's a trophy and stuff like that. And also there's a lot of like Astro bots or whatever in the scenery, like reenacting like a bunch of games. Like I found like there's a cameraman and he's like filming like a fake Kratos and his son Atreus, and there's one where like Metal Gear and like he's in the box, and a bunch of other funny touchstones. And there was a bunch of like little scenes that I couldn't quite peg it. I didn't know exactly what scene they were reenacting, and I think it was might have been Resident Evil or something, but it just kind of felt like, damn, this is like they're really going big on the PlayStation history aspect of things, and this game is actually fun to boot. So yeah.
Yeah, the game is loaded with references and Easter eggs. There's so much cool shit in it, and they dig deep with the stuff too. So like, there's a layer of things that everybody who grew up with PlayStation should get, or the majority of people will most likely get. But I know that they also have some really deep like Easter egg and references that it's like that are intended for the hardcorest of the hardcore, that have played every random like Japanese game. And they reference very random accessories that came out, and that very few people had, and things like that. It's just this love letter to PlayStation history, in a way that a game like Super Smash Brothers Ultimate in the Nintendo side is kind of a love letter to Nintendo history. Obviously, very different kinds of games. And the other thing I wanted to mention too is that I feel like there's kind of this interesting trend with PlayStation. I wouldn't even say a trend, but there's something going on there where there is this general belief, especially nowadays, over the last decade, that Nintendo are really good with families, right? Like they make very good family friendly stuff. And that PlayStation goes more for that, hardcore audience, that more like mature audience. They make more like violent, realistic, story driven games. But despite that notion and despite that differentiation applying to the majority of the stuff that comes out of consequence for those two companies, I actually find. Do you want to do the thing?
Oh my God, your video came in without me having to disconnect.
Oh, really? It worked? Great.
I
All right.
go for it.
Well, to finish my point here, you can see that PlayStation has actually been doing some progress and making some good shit in that family friendly realm as well, because the PS5 came out with this Astrobot, built in game, which kind of follows that sort of Nintendo-ish formula. Then I heard that Sackboy: A Big Adventure is actually a really good game as well, and that it actually kind of out Nintendo's Nintendo with some of the
Oh,
things. In fact, I mean, obviously this is anecdotal, but I've heard from people that were playing Sackboy at around the same time that they were also playing 3D World on the Switch, that were saying the Sackboy is actually better than 3D World. Now, I don't know if I believe that, but I'm just saying that I've seen that thought around. And then you also got Ratchet and Clank, who had a really beloved installment on the PS4 with Ratchet and Clank 2016, and now you also got Rift Apart, on the horizon coming out on the PS5. So they're making moves. Like I don't know if it's some consolidated effort or if these are all coincidences or if it's just always been like that and we're just paying more attention to it now. But they're definitely making some moves in that family friendly, platformer realm. You know what I mean?
yeah. Now all they need is a knack 3, and then there you go.
And then they're good, right?
Yeah.
That's probably not going to happen. In fact, just because you said that, I just want to say we didn't cover this in the podcast. That we totally forgot about it. But Sony has recently kind of shut down a lot of the operations of their Japan studio.
Oh,
I don't know if you saw this, Lewis. Yeah, so those are the folks that made Knack, I believe, and also a lot of other stuff. They made a lot of great stuff in the past. They made the game Rain, which we did a sharing the love for a while ago, and more recently, they were involved with the Shadow of the Colossus remake and a few other things. But the Last Guardian, I think they had some influence in as well.
wait, they shut down Blue Point Studios?
No, no, no,
Uh,
Japan
oh,
Studio,
Japan. Oh, yeah.
Japan Studio.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Blue Point doesn't belong to PlayStation, although people stipulate that they might soon. But
Okay.
um, yeah. Anyway, I digress. Do you have anything else you want to talk about Astrobot? I mean, I know it's a great game. I've played it a bit at a friend's house, and I've heard plenty about it.
I mean, I think it's a very good navigation. You can just press the options button and teleport directly to the place that you want to go to. It even gives you like a little
Hmm.
checklist of like, oh, here's what you collect and here's what you didn't collect, kind of thing. I think that's really cool and really good and awesome, and it makes it easier. Like, I didn't try using the cards yet. I saw the cards. I pulled up the menu when I was trying to turn off the game and whatever, or like exit out, and then I saw the cards of what I'm doing and where am I in my progress with like little like you're 100% completed with this task, or you're 64% of the way done with this, or whatever.
Right.
And I kind of I don't know if I want to use that feature, but it would be I think I might, just because it's there, and I think it's really I think it's going to be interesting to not have to pull out my phone and go to and YouTube something to like where is this hiding? That I would do that, but I would try to refrain from doing that. But now it's like baked into the actual game, so maybe I might try it and see where they could just tell me where the
Although
collectibles are.
a feature like that has to be implemented on the development side, right? Like they need to set up how those cards get probably detected, and how the game realizes where you're at and which tip you should be given at that point. And I feel like I could be wrong about this, but I feel like the majority of the developers are not going to make use of it, and that it's going to end up becoming one of those things that you look back on at the end of the console generation and you go like, oh shit, remember when they announced the cards feature and how like we haven't thought about it in years? you
Also,
know
also, I think some of the more better cards are locked behind PS Plus, where you have to be a PS
mm,
Plus member in order to get those cards, if I'm not
that's
mistaken.
interesting. That's interesting. I didn't know about that. All right, Lewis, let's move on and talk about the news. And we're going to start here with something that we've been kind of hinting at and talking about throughout the show. And also something that we kind of covered last week and when it was still a rumor, but now it has been confirmed that PS3, PS Vita, and PSP PlayStation stores are being closed. And we're going to read an excerpt here straight from the source, straight from the PlayStation blog. We are closing PlayStation Store on PlayStation 3 consoles on July 2nd, 2021, and on PlayStation Vita devices on August 27th, 2021. Additionally, the remaining purchase functionality for PSP will also retire on July 2nd, 2021. So, quick recap: July 2nd, you can't buy PSP games on Vita anymore, and you can't buy PS3 digital games anymore. Then on August 27th, you can't buy anything on Vita anymore. What features can I use after the closure of PlayStation Store and purchase functionality on these devices? The features you will still be able to access, you will still be able to re-download and play previously purchased game titles. So whatever you have downloaded, you're good there. You'll still be able to access previously purchased video and media content, and you'll still be able to redeem game and PlayStation Plus vouchers. And you will still be able to re-download and play claimed game titles through PlayStation Plus as long as you remain a member of the service. Features you will lose access to. You will no longer be able to purchase PS3, PS Vita, and PSP digital content, including games and video content. You will no longer be able to make in-game purchases through games on PS3, PS Vita, and PSP. And you will no longer be able to redeem PSN Wallet Fund vouchers, such as gift cards, on PS3, PS Vita, or PSP devices once PlayStation Store and purchase functionality for these devices close. Your PSN Wallet funds will remain in your PSN account, but you will only be able to use your wallet funds to purchase PS4 and PS5 products on PlayStation Store, on the web, PlayStation app, or on PS4 and PS5 consoles. And then there's some instructions here that you can go look into if you're interested on this, at how to accessing your own games so that you can potentially download them either right now or in the future, even after the store closures. Since you'll still be able to do that, you just won't be able to buy new games. Lewis, what do you think?
Oh my gosh, this is there's we talked about it when it was a rumor last week, and they told us that by the end of the month they're going to announce it officially, and now here it is. And
Yeah.
I gotta say that having more time to like sit on it and like thinking about it and thinking about what is exclusive on the PS3, and the biggest one is the PS1 games on the PS1 games that you can play on the PS3 as well as the on the Vita. The Vita is also a good PS1 emulating machine, basically, and it sucks that all of this content's gonna go, just vanish into the ether.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about like like these edge cases too, because apparently like if you wanted to like buy up like an actual original PS1 game, like actual like complete like with the jewel case and the instruction manual, like something like a cult classic, or one of those like this thing's had its shine after it was already said and done. Something like Suikoden 2. Suikoden 2 can fetch you over $100 on eBay, like 100, 150 or something like that. But you can buy it digitally on the PS3 for like $10. Digital prices are gonna like really outperform the
Right.
physical counterparts, the aftermarket eBay aftermarket, basically. And it sucks. It sucks that these games are going, and this is like a bad day for preservation, and this is also an argument in people's favors that go physical, and and when everyone talks about an all digital future, this is the worst case scenario, and this proves the people's points that saying going on digital is bad, because these servers will not be on forever, and one day I can probably won't even be able to play my PS Plus games on the PS3 or something like that. That's probably going to happen in the future. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that was the other thing that I was thinking about. Like, you get so used to having, like, I'm going through my my Vita library or whatever, and so many of those games I own through PlayStation Plus, and I don't even know which ones or remember which ones. And it's crazy to think that at some point, that service might as well be discontinued from the Vita, and then what happens then, right? Like, do I no longer have those games, or how are they gonna? They haven't had to address that yet, but they will have to eventually, right? It will become a question. Um, I don't know, man. It just the truth is it just sucks. And I talked in the past year about like last week here about how much I thought this sucks, and it sucks. I said last time that it sucks less for the PSP because it's older and a little and then a little more for the PS3, and it's the worst for the Vita. And I still believe that, but I'm more stronger in my opinion now, where I feel like it sucks for all of them because so I started doing some research about this stuff these last few days. And I'm doing some research because I want to figure out what am I going to be buying before these things go offline, and why. And I want to be able to bring it in to the podcast, and I want to be able to make some content about it, like which games you should go and get on your PS3 digitally, on your Vita, etc. Yeah, the thing that I realized when making that research is actually very interesting. It's things that I didn't know. So the first one is that the Vita obviously is a machine that doesn't just play Vita games. It plays games from PS3, from PS1. So, or actually, there are games that came out on both PS3 and Vita. Then it plays PS1 games, it plays PSP games, and it also has some PS2 games. So it is just as great, like emulator almost for you to play old stuff, right? You can play like Castlevania Symphony of the Night on it and Final Fantasy VII. And there's a lot of these games that are available in other places, but there are a lot of them that are not. Um, Now, another interesting thing is that the PSP specifically, if you look at the library of the PSP and the best games that came out on the PSP, the majority of them never came out of there. The majority of the best PSP games um, are only playable on PSP. They were never ported to anything. They were never like remastered in any way, and etc. They're just stuck on the PSP. And those games, like once the Vita store shuts, the only way that you'll be able to access those games is by buying the freaking UMD discs and running them in the original PSP hardware, which I'm sure will not be easily accessible, and might not even, a lot of those might not even work anymore, because that's the thing with these old like discs as well that we forget about. Like these discs would get scratched and not work, right? Like that happened with UMD. It also happened with PS3 discs and 360 discs and things like that.
I've had two
So this idea,
PSPs where the analog stick broke. So
yeah, that sucks. So, I already started looking into that, and that actually, I realized that when I started doing my research, that's going to be my priority. Actually, is downloading PSP games on the Vita, because especially because they're so cheap. Like so many of them are like $5, $6, $7. For these PSP in quotes like classics, that you can't get anywhere else. So I'm going to be doing some of that. As far as the actual Vita games go, a lot of them were brought to other platforms. So a lot of the games that came out on the Vita, they came out on the Vita, and then they realized, this is, like this is not selling enough. This console is not really successful, and then they brought it to PC, they brought it to iOS, whatever else, right? Like they brought it to a lot of Switch. There's some games that are available on the Switch and etc. So that's not as concerning. There's a bunch that are on PS4 as well, but you still got to feel like hidden gems there that never came out the Vita. Like you got Killzone Mercenary, which is a Vita only game. You got Uncharted Golden Abyss, which is a mainline Uncharted game that never came out of the Vita either. There's a bunch of RPGs that are Vita exclusives, that never came out on anything else either. So there's all these examples. And then on the PS3 side, I actually find that now in hindsight, I actually think that the PS3 is the one where it's kind of the least concerning, because with the PS3, it seems like the majority of the games on the PS3 are still very cheap to get physically. So that's a generation that it comes across like we haven't gotten to the point where the games have gotten really expensive yet. And then on top of that, most of the noteworthy PSN PS3 games have since been made available on either PS4 or PC and other stuff. But it still sucks that you won't be able to play some of those on original hardware in the future if you wanted to. So overall, I just hate that this kind of shit happens. I just hate that it seems like it happens faster every time. That companies are less patient about letting things sit, as I expected they would be. Like with the Vita, man, like the Vita, Severed came out on the Vita 5 years ago, we just talked about, right? Like, and there were still, noteworthy games coming out on the Vita not too long ago, and now they're closing the store, and they're closing the store. And what makes all of this worse too is that they're doing it with no better solution for backwards compatibility on the newer consoles, right? With no other way to play these classic PSP games or some of these classic PS1 games, PS2 games, etc., on the newer consoles. Um, so yeah, dude, I I want to keep doing my research. I think I'm going to end up spending hundreds of dollars in these machines, just getting everything that I want to get that's going to be stranded in them. I want to make sure I get it. And then I'm going to be bringing that as some form of content into the podcast, like, here are the 10 games you should get on the Vita before it goes offline and that kind of stuff. So
So
yeah.
my question is, do you think that they're gonna, do you even think Sony is even gonna bother doing a going out of business sale where they're gonna like just mark everything
Oh, dude,
down?
like I would love for that to happen because there's still plenty of games, especially like the actual Vita games, for instance, right? There's still a lot of those that are 20 to 40 bucks.
Yeah, I know.
Um,
That's one of the reasons why I didn't buy many Vita games is because they would hardly ever go on sale. Like I would notice that they tend
yeah,
to stay in full price. Like I wanted to buy me like some Danganronpa games and stuff like that, but they never went on sale. And I had
yeah.
them on my list on my wish list,
Oh,
and they got delisted before we even bought them because remember we covered the news
I'm so
story.
happy you
What's up?
Yeah, I'm so happy you brought this up because I was gonna say that, like, on top of that, there's a lot of the games that you were gonna want to buy on the Vita that are not even available anymore because multiple games have been delisted as well. Like they're classic, the game Luminous that a lot of people love that was on the PSP, and then there was a new version on the Vita. Both of these games are delisted. All
Okay.
the Danganronpa games are delisted from the Vita. There's a bunch of other examples as well, but those are just the ones that come to mind. But as I was doing my research, I found out that a lot of the games that people recommend, like, oh, the games you should own on the Vita, those are no longer available anyway.
Yeah. And so yeah, it just sucks that like we covered it on the top on this very podcast last year where they were going to get delisted and we gave us the dates and everything of when they were going to go, and I didn't even
Mhm.
buy them either. So it's like, well, damn, I got to buy them at full price or they go, and I'm like, yeah, I was waiting for sales and I even added them to my like wish list and stuff, and then PlayStation would notify me if they ever go on sale, and they never did. So that's one of the things I did notice is number one, I don't know if the onus is on Sony to like just mark all the prices down so that way they can generate more revenue before they shut down, or they know people are going to just go out and buy these digital games anyways, so why mark the prices down? So that's kind of
Dude, I
sucks.
wonder because, like, that's what they should do. It would be a great thing for them to do that. It would help the developers. It would help everybody. And it would be nice. It would be a nice move to compensate the shitty move that they're doing right now. But ultimately, it sounds too good for something for them to do that. I've grown very skeptical with Sony about a few things. I'm skeptical about Nintendo a lot with other reasons, but with Sony, it's like I don't know, man. I feel like they just kind of don't care. Like, I feel like there's a lot of things that they just don't care about. And Jim Ryan has been quoted saying that he doesn't
old
care
old
about,
game is
the
old.
older
Yeah.
games and backwards compatibility and all that stuff. He's like, who wants to play these old games on the new hardware? It's like, yeah, well, I get your point. That's true. But, if there is some people that do want to play it, then you should give them the option if it's not that much of an if it doesn't, I don't know, it's complicated, right? Like, I'm sure there's effort involved. I don't want to say like if there's no effort involved, but and there's a difference between, like, nobody or most people don't really want to go back and play like FIFA 2010 in 2021 when the game is like an annualized franchise that gets better every year. But it's different when you're talking about games that are just unique and different, right? Like, I mean, Uncharted Golden Abyss is not just made irrelevant because there's a new Uncharted game. It's its own story, its own campaign that fits into the story of the other games, right? So those games are still relevant. They will always be relevant, right? Like um I don't know, man. It's I could keep talking about this, but I feel like I'm getting to the point where I'm mostly just rambling.
There's one last thing that we need to touch upon is that the Sony didn't announce this stuff to like the developers because apparently there were a couple of developers that were developing that still actively making a game for the Vita or games for the Vita. They found out when this was officially announced and
Mhm.
stuff like they had to find out like this. And because these games are still in active development for the Vita, they can't meet that deadline for the shutdown, and they're
Yeah.
basically forced to cancel their own game, and that's money
Yeah.
spent right there.
Yeah,
That's money
besides,
gone.
Yeah, with the store shutting down in 4 months, who would wanna, who would wanna do it anyway, right? Like your game's potential of sales are straight up just like that time frame. Now, granted, if a game comes out in like the week before the store closes and it's the last release of the Vita, it might get some kind of a boost just because of that, right? Like if they can somehow like spend the proper marketing money to make that story be covered and everything. But yeah, at this point, if I had a game in development, even if it was like, even if there was a chance that we're gonna get it out on time, I just wouldn't, because it's like, what's the point? At this point, you might as well just switch your efforts to trying to put the game on PC instead. Just port it to another platform. Um, I don't know, man. It sucks. And then just another part of the story too. This was reported by Wesley Inpool for Eurogamer. Sony has pulled an old web version of the PlayStation Store that let people still buy old games. In October, Sony launched a revamped web and mobile store that ditched PlayStation 3, PSP, and Vita games, themes, and avatars. Sony also discontinued the wishlist feature and signaled all items currently on your wishlist would be deleted. However, after disclosure, fans were able to access the old web version of the PlayStation Store and their associated wish lists via a region-specific URL that meant people were still able to make PS3, PSP, and Vita game and DLC purchases. This URL stopped working over the weekend, as reported by Reset Era, or in Reset Era, and now redirects to Sony's new web store that includes PS4 and PS5 games only.
You know,
So
now that I
we
think
didn't
about
think.
it, we did cover this original story, the October story, last year in the podcast, and it almost kind of like telegraphs this very move if we were able to read the tea leaves. So yeah.
I know, and I remember us covering it, but I don't remember if we like predicted that this was going to happen, and even if we did, I don't think we would have predicted that it would be so soon.
Hmm.
Like, I still think this is nuts, dude. The Vita is not even 10 years old yet. Like the Vita. Think about it this way: like the Vita is just roughly a year older than the PS4. And could you imagine? Could you imagine them closing the PS4 store like at the end of this year or something?
At
Like
the end of
that would
next year or
be
something like that.
insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's not gonna happen. And I understand the Vita was not successful, and it's kind of like Nintendo with a Wii U, right? Like the Wii U was not successful, so they closed things earlier than they otherwise would have. But I just find it like disrespectful to the people that are still, playing the console, buying games on the console, making games for the console. I mean, come on, does it really cost that much? Like they're making so much money with PS4, with PS5. Does it really cost that much to just keep these servers running for a little bit longer? You know? I don't know, man. It's rough. It's rough out there. Let's keep going here.
All right.
Um CD Projekt has canceled its standalone AAA Cyberpunk multiplayer game. As reported by VGC, posted by Tom Ivan. CD Projekt Red's next AAA title won't be a multiplayer Cyberpunk game as previously planned, its parent company said on Tuesday. As part of a wide-ranging CD Projekt strategy update, President and Joint CEO Adam Kaczynski said the company has reconsidered its plans for the game. CD Projekt suggested in January 2020 that its Cyberpunk multiplayer project would be its own AAA release rather than Cyberpunk 2077 add-on, and last November, Kaczynski called it a separate dedicated production, a big production, adding, "We think about it as a standalone product." However, Kaczynski said in a video released on Tuesday, "Previously we hinted that our next AAA would be a multiplayer Cyberpunk game, but we have decided to reconsider this now. Given our new, more systematic and agile approach, instead of primarily focusing on one big online experience or game, we are focusing on bringing online into all our franchises one day." In a conference call held after the initial announcement, Kaczynski was asked which games are currently in CD Projekt Red's development pipeline. He offered the following response regarding multiplayer titles. Regarding online, we are changing our approach, so we want it to have online on future games. Okay, this is getting repetitive. Um, Let's see here. I don't know if this is covered in this article. I think we might be getting to it, or maybe not. But in other related, CD Projekt Red related news, they've also confirmed the acquisition of a new studio. They're going to be working on a new Witcher game simultaneously with the continuous development of Cyberpunk. And also, they finally released the new patch for Cyberpunk 2077 as well. Patch 1.2 is out now for PC and consoles, and will follow for Stadia later this week. By the time you're listening to this, it might have already come out. Uh, They have said Cyberpunk's long-awaited 1.2 patch is coming, blah, blah, blah. The announcement included an enormous list of changes, including enabling ray tracing on AMD graphics cards. So yeah, Lewis, lots of stuff happening with CD Projekt Red. I was hoping the article was going to get into a little bit more detail about some of this other stuff that's been going on, but I should have picked a more all-inclusive article, perhaps.
I just I
But
just gotta say that I have the patch notes here pulled up, and the patch notes are extremely long. Like it just scrolls forever and ever and ever and ever. Like it's a whole freaking book. Yeah, I would imagine that that's kind of. I'm still scrolling, by the way. I'd imagine. I'd imagine that that's kind of what you need to do when there's so much to fix, and I'm still scrolling. This is ridiculous, but
oh well.
damn, yeah. So there was so much fixes that needed to be happen that it just you have to like. First off, hats off to them for keeping track of everything that they did. By the way, I
Mhm.
just barely finished. I just barely got to the end. But yeah, just as far as the cyberpunk stuff, I mean, yeah, I'm pretty sure there's gonna be another. This patch that we're looking at right now is supposed to be was supposed to be the patch that we were supposed to get in February if it wasn't for the hack. So now I wonder what they were gonna do for the March patch here in April. That is that, and then the second thing, just going back to the original article regarding the multiplayer stuff. Yeah, honestly, you got to focus on making the game the base game and not really, you know, I'm pretty sure if you were to try to add multiplayer to Cyberpunk, that you're just pretty much screwed to the point where like it would just break and fall apart. So, yeah.
I think it's a very interesting way to word it, by the way, when they say that rather than making a new multiplayer project, they're going to focus on adding multiplayer to their existing projects. So what that says to me, there's like a lot of interesting things that we can take out of that quote. It's like I think that they are under the belief right now that they wouldn't be able to really sell well a multiplayer only Cyberpunk tie-in game in a year, because probably off the disastrous launch of Cyberpunk. You think about how Cyberpunk had such a complicated launch with it being a single player story driven adventure, and think about what online games typically launch as, right? Like online only experiences like, you know, Destiny and other games like that. Like they usually, or Avengers, right?
Yeah.
Like they usually launch with a lot of issues and that didn't have to be addressed. Like if after the disaster that was the Cyberpunk 2077 launch, if they came out with Cyberpunk Online in a year, one, people would already be skeptical. Two, if it's not perfect, people would respond even strongly to that one, and that one might actually affect their sales because Cyberpunk sales were not affected that negatively. Well, we don't know what they could have been, but they still had very good sales because ultimately, people didn't know what they were getting into. They went there, they bought the game. If they, depending on which platform they bought it on, they enjoyed it. Depending on which platform they bought it on, they asked for a refund, but ultimately they still made a lot of money, right? However, the people that were burned by this, and the narrative, the media narrative that got burned by this, would get them on the next one, right? Like the next one would be the one that would be the most affected because then people go, well, I got burned once. I'm not buying this day one again. I'm not pre-ordering this game again. The media coverage would have been different because people got really burned with the coverage as well. The people that got burned by the game got really upset about the way that the game was covered too. So I feel like journalists would be a lot more critical about the way that they cover the game and etc. Hopefully in the next one. So there's all of that like going on, right? So the truth is like the way things are right now and the way that things have gone, a Cyberpunk online game would probably have been doomed to fail in every different meaning of the word. So instead, they're probably saying, you know what? Let's keep working on Cyberpunk. Let's focus on this. Let's make it better. We already have, another Witcher game potentially in, pre-production, which they're probably aiming to get out in a few years, especially with the success of the Netflix show and all that stuff. And maybe Cyberpunk Online will be a patch to Cyberpunk that will come out, maybe next year after to fix the game. as opposed to being another thing that they're trying to sell you. And maybe where they're going to make their money to compensate for that will be with monetization schemes and microtransactions with that online mode that comes in later on to the hopefully by then great base Cyberpunk 2077 game. So yeah, it just makes sense. It makes sense that that would be their strategy moving forward.
They're trying to GTA 5 this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. People don't remember this, I feel like, but GTA 5 did not come out with GTA Online. In fact, GTA Online, I remember, kept getting delayed. Like, I remember it was one of those things where it was like, oh, they're going to add this online mode to GTA 5. And you expected it to come out like a few months after the game came out, but then it didn't for, I think, over a year, maybe like 2 years. Like, it took a while. I almost want to look that up because
And
GTA 5 came out in 2013.
and not to mention Red Dead Online was a beta when it first released.
Yes, yes, there's that as well. So, yeah, I feel like their strategy there makes sense. On to the next one here. As reported by Eurogamer by Wesley Inpool, once again, this year's Call of Duty returns to World War II. This year's Call of Duty returns to World War II, according to fresh reports in part verified by Eurogamer. Modern Warfare reported this year's new Call of Duty is in development at Modern Warzone, a website, reported this year's new Call of Duty is in development at Sledgehammer Games, maker of 2017's well-received Call of Duty World War II, and is due out late 2021. Eurogamer sources have indicated this is indeed true. Modern Warzone also reports this game is codenamed Call of Duty World War II Vanguard, and reports the name will be changed in the future. While this may indeed be the case, Eurogamer understands Activision's current plan is to stick with the Vanguard subtitle for the final version. Warzone also reports the entire game takes place in an alternate timeline where 1945 wasn't the end of World War II and is set in the 1950s. Eurogamer understands this detail isn't quite right, and Vanguard has a traditional World War II setting. This is a very interesting article because they're projecting is like two different reports. It's like there's the report that they're quoting, and then there's their report. It's like, hey, they said this, but we actually mean that. Call of Duty games tend to leak before they're officially announced, and Eurogamer has verified Call of Duty leaks in each of the last 5 years. The headline this time around, though, is Call of Duty's return to World War II. Vanguard it will be just the second World War II Call of Duty released in the last decade, and comes after a Modern Warfare set in the present day and a Black Ops Cold War game set during the 80s. An open question is whether Vanguard is set for integration with Warzone. Black Ops Cold War was announced within Warzone, and its integration into the Battle Royale, while suffering from significant problems, clearly boosted sales of Treyarch's shooter. With Warzone set for cataclysmic zombie-fueled nuke event in the near future, one that reportedly will usher in a significant 80s theme map change for Verdansk, the question is this: is Warzone set for a WW2 theme change in the future too? So yeah, Lewis, what do you think about Call of Duty going back to World War II, and also Sledgehammer games coming back into the fold after they were out for a few years?
Yeah, I know. I just kind of it's interesting that they had like the perfect harmony and then something went wrong and I guess now they got everything back in order.
Hmm.
This makes sense. I mean, everyone liked I think Call of Duty World War 1 was very very well received. And so of course you're just going to go back to what worked and yeah, everyone's gonna. I mean, the whole idea of it being like an alternate timeline thing doesn't seem like nothing new. So going to the 50s helps you like put more tech or whatever that or more guns that weren't realistic for the 40s. So yeah, this makes sense. I'm not particularly excited. I mean, I don't really buy Call of Duty games, and if I do, I usually buy them years after the fact just to play the campaign. So yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. I played Modern Warfare, I think, last year, and that was the 2019 Modern Warfare, and I thought that was pretty good. It had a pretty solid campaign, really good tech, like very technically impressive. And then I have not played Black Ops Cold War yet for a very simple reason, which is I really want to play that game on the PS5. So that will be like when I eventually get a PS5, that will be one of the games I get for it because uh, I want to try the triggers in that game. And I think I want to see. I heard that game is a good showcase for that tech. I think the most so that another World War II game. We've had plenty of those, and we're going back to it. And the last one from Sledgehammer was like that as well. So that makes complete sense. I wonder how it's going to be connected to the game story wise, if at all, or if this is just a new story. I could see both ways. I think the most interesting thing here is seeing Sledgehammer back into the fold because I think from an analytical perspective, it makes you realize that this game really had an interesting story going for it, because like a story of the development of the game, not the story of the campaign itself. Because Sledgehammer would have started developing this game in 2017 or after the release of 2017's Call of Duty, right? The expectation, if they continued their, clockwork like system going on, is that this game would have come out at the end of 2020, right? That would have been the game at the end of 2020. Because things were not working out, about this time, I think last year, it was announced that Treyarch was instead going to be releasing a new Call of Duty just 2 years after the previous one that they released, which ended up being Black Ops Cold War. So they took Sledgehammer's place there, and they also had the support from Raven, if I'm not mistaken, another studio that used to work on Call of Duties back in the day, and then nowadays is more like a co-dev and etc. Within Activision. So the interesting thing is, at that point, we theorize, like, is Sledgehammer done? Like, what's going on there? Like, is there going to be a new cycle going in here? Is Sledgehammer going to be doing something else? What's going on? And now they're back, and here's the game. So this game is probably the game that they already had in development this whole time. It's the game that really, this is just a delayed game. If you think about it, like, this is a delayed Call of Duty, which is very rare by itself, right? Like, I don't think we've ever had a delayed Call of Duty before. So I think just that already makes it interesting, right? Like, what was going on with this game that made it get delayed? Like, why was this one not finished in the 3 years that every other Call of Duty gets developed under? And are they doing something really ambitious with it? Are they, is this going to be a next gen only, something that's doing something really crazy with the tech, with the graphics, etc., right? Like, and I don't know. I just think it's interesting to think about that. Like, there's something about this game that must make it different than the other recent Call of Duties, either in a bad way or in a good way, right? So I think it's exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing it, seeing a proper announcement. We're probably going to see that during E3, Summer of Gaming, whatever you want to call it. So
Was
yeah.
Do you think that last year's Call of Duty was like hella crunched to get to meet the deadline?
Oh yeah, probably. I don't even know how I don't even know how they did that. Like, I don't even know how they were able to pull that off, and that the game supposedly came out good too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right.
All right, let's move on to our final story here on Top News. Over 20 ID at Xbox games are launching day one with Xbox Game Pass. As reported by Adam Bankhurst for IGN. Microsoft and Twitch presented the first Twitch gaming showcase ID at Xbox event today, and it featured over 20 games, including Drinkbox Studios' new game Nobody Saves the World. Once again, we're mentioning Drinkbox Studios in this episode, which will be launching day one with Xbox Game Pass. The Twitch Gaming Showcase ID at Xbox event highlighted 60 games that are headed to Xbox Series X and S, and the 22 of them that will be available on Xbox Game Pass on launch are as follows. Art of the Rally, coming to cloud and console in 2021. You know what? I'm just going to read the game names, and the majority of those are cloud and console and some on PC. We got Astria Ascending, Backbone, Boyfriend Dungeon, Craftopia, Dad Static Drive, Edge of Eternity, Hello Neighbor 2, Library of Runa, Little Witch in the Woods, Moonglow Bay, Narita Boy, Nobody Saves the World, Omno, Recompile, Sabi, The Dreams Elsewhere, Stalker 2, The Ascent, Undungeon, Way to the Woods, and The Wild at Heart. Lewis, do you want to pick one of those that sounds interesting to you and read the description for me?
The only game that I already know what it is Hello Neighbor 2. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Hello Neighbor 2 is a stealth horror game that is all about uncovering your creepy neighbor's secrets. I was hoping you would have read that. That's
Oh,
what I
sorry,
asked for, but
sorry.
it's okay. You know what? There was one here that Boyfriend Dungeon. I think I saw this at an event one time, and this is pretty interesting. A dungeon crawler that is all about dating your weapons. Enjoy the world's best check and slash game. So
Whoa.
this is a mix between like a dating sim sort of visual novel type game with a dungeon crawler. And it's really interesting. So anyways, I've been hearing some stuff about Narita Boy as well, actually. Let me see. I've been scrolling through this article and it's not there. We go. Naruto Boy in this game becomes the best-selling video game of all time in the 80s, but a dark secret lives in its binaural code. That's a very bad that's a very bad description right there. That sounds very confusing. Anyway, point is Xbox did the showcase, showed a shit ton of different, little indie games that are coming out to their platform, and especially, 22 of them that are coming out day and date on Xbox Game Pass. What do you think about that, Louis?
I mean, that's a big W, I would say. There's no doubt about it. Anything that comes out like day and date with Game Pass is always going to make Game Pass more of a better value proposition because you're not getting old old Netflix style games or whatever. You're getting that brand new content. So
Mhm.
yeah, as far as the actual like games themselves, I mean, I would hope that these I don't know. I don't know who wins more. Do the indie developers win more, or does Microsoft win more? I don't know. So
I would say it's a win-win situation. It's as an indie developer, when you put out a game, especially nowadays when there's just so much on the market at all times, right? It's a big risk because you've put all this time and effort and money developing your game through a year or two or more, and you finally get it done, and you want to put it out, and there is the small potential that it's going to be a big hit and get picked up by news outlets, and it's going to review well, etc. And then you're going to get thousands and thousands and thousands of people to play, and you're going to make a lot of money. Now, for a lot of developers, that never happens, right? Like for a lot of developers, they put their games out, they either pick up a little bit of traction or no traction at all, and they get like 200 sales on Steam, and then that's not nearly enough to pay for their time and effort and money spent in the game, investment spent in the game. So I feel like a lot of indie developers, what's probably going on is that Microsoft is probably going to them and offering a check, and it's probably a check that it's kind of like a deal or no deal situation, right? Like that game, right? Like where it's like it's probably not as high as your best case scenario if you put out the game and it was a huge success, right? Like your best case scenario is effectively, infinite, but it's much better than your worst case scenario. So it's like it lives somewhere in the middle of that scale. So I feel like for a lot of indie devs that take those deals, they're probably like, you know what? Let's guarantee this money right now. We can still sell units in other platforms. People can still a lot of times buy the game on PlayStation or Switch or whatever. And we're gonna get this guaranteed, no questions asked check from Microsoft that allows us to go and make our next game, right? So, and then you're also kind of guaranteed an audience as well, because when the game comes out on Game Pass, there's this huge pool of people that are likely going to be trying it out. So I think it's a win-win. Now, to be fair, I do not know any of the details of how these deals are made. And I do wonder, I just kind of assume that Microsoft just pays like a flat amount. But it could also have something to do with like, hey, like, we're going to give you at least this much. But, if your game gets X downloads, then you get this much more. Or, there could be some correlation with the amount of downloads, playtime. I don't know, whatever metrics they have.
okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's definitely one of those situations where I'm glad I bought or have a Game Pass subscription. So that's kind of funny though. I don't think I've got to actually download anything, and I've been paying it for like 2 months now. But I only paid a
Well, you
dollar,
should
so
get onto that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I take that back. I did download a Gears game when I talked about it. So yeah, there you go.
That's
Boom.
true. That's true. There you go. All right, so let's go through our extra news here. Number one, Mario is dead, meaning you can no longer get the Mario 35th anniversary special products as of right now, as of recording. So if you didn't, sucks to be you. We should have covered this. We should have covered this last week.
Oh yeah, and
Um,
also I never got to play Super Mario 35 again. Like I never got a win.
that's true. That's true. That's true. Me neither. Number two, Mortal Kombat movie has been delayed by a week to April 23rd. Number three, The Witcher 3 next gen version is coming out in the second half of 2021. Number four, Ninja Gaiden 1 and 2 code has been lost. Number five, Ratchet and Clank PS4 is getting 60 FPS update on PS5 in April. I believe that is out already, actually. Number six, exclusive. Razer confirms high-tech concept face mask Project Hazel, which we talked about in the podcast a while ago, will be turned into a real product. Number seven, Resident Evil movie has been delayed to November 24th. Number eight, Venture Beat journalist Jeff Grubb has announced via his Twitch that he had heard Alan Wake 2 is in development at Remedy Studios. Number 9, new DLC for Shark game Maneater is coming out this summer. Number 10, 2013 PC game Rust is coming to PS4 and Xbox One on May 21st. Number 11, E3 2021 U-turns on proposal to put some content behind a paywall. So they're no longer going to be doing that. And number 12, Android Dunos 2 has been announced for the 3DS, and Android Dunos 1+2 has been announced for the Dreamcast. What the hell is that, Lewis?
So yeah, I can just pull up the website here with Gematsu. There's apparently it's like one of those shmups. It's like one of those it's like a shooter basically, and like a side-scrolling shoot 'em up, as they call them, shmups. So yeah, it's a brand new game being developed and made, and it's coming out on the 3DS. Well, the sequel is, and then the first and the second game are being developed and gonna be released officially with like a little like seal of like authenticity, and there's only going to be 500 copies only printed, and you can pre-order it now. Or there's it's going to come out like on different regions for different consoles. So luckily for like I believe that, well, actually all three consoles with the PS4, Xbox One, and the Switch, they're all region free, so you can probably just get them anyways. So but yeah, no, just for the North America, it's only coming out on the 3DS and the Dreamcast officially. Everything else, you just have to like get that European version. So yeah, I just thought it was funny that a brand new game is coming out for the Dreamcast, a system that's been discontinued since 2001. So
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy right there. All right, I don't really have anything else to say actually out of this other extra news. Like nothing is really speaking much to me. I always find it fascinating when code for old games is lost. So I'd love to read some further into that, but that's about all I have there. What about you, Lewis?
I'm just glad that I can play Ratchet and Clank 2016 for the first time. You know, I had it on the PS4 since day one. I bought it with the disc and everything, and I never played it, and now I get to play the best version of it.
Yep.
But
Good
yeah,
stuff. Good stuff.
it sucks that code is lost, and also I'm actually kind of a little bit confused as to why Mortal Kombat would delay just for 1 week. Like I need to know what the details are about that. As far as like it
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense for you've been marketing your movie posters, your trailer says April 16th on it and stuff like that, and what difference would 1 week make? But whatever. Either way, I'm glad that it's not like delayed to like fall or something, or to next year or something. So that's better. I didn't even know a Resident Evil movie was even being worked on. So that's news to me
I'm
in
pretty
general.
sure we covered it in here actually. So
Maybe we might probably. But yeah, other than that, I mean, there's really nothing that I were particularly like interested in talking about. But also, oh, actually, I will say one quick comment: the audacity of the electronics board to like want to paywall something about a digital E3 2021. So yeah, that's it.
you say that, but GDC did a digital event last year, and they either did it or are doing it again this year, and it's paywalled as well, and it's big paywall. GDC tickets are usually crazy expensive. Like your cheapest ticket starts at $250, but that doesn't even give you access to the majority of things. Like the like all access ticket is something like $2,000, and if you want to get access to the majority of the talks, you need to spend at least $1,000. And it's just one of those things where it's like there's a big paywall to it, and the speakers that give the talks are not even paid. They're doing it voluntarily. It all just goes to like supporting the event, and the organization that runs it. So I wouldn't put it past E3. And yeah, I forgot to get to it, but they did the digital event, and even though it's just basically YouTube videos that are being streamed and you're watching from your home, then they still expected people to spend almost the same amount of money to get that, so which is ridiculous. Now on the E3 side, considering that usually you can get tickets for E3 now for $200 or something, it doesn't surprise me that they would have thought about doing something similar, where it's like, hey, it's digital now, but we still want you to pay $100 to watch it. So I'm glad that they're not doing that though. That's especially for an event like E3. That's bullshit. It's bullshit for GDC too though. They should make it more accessible. Um. Anyway, on that note, let's move forward, and I'll let you play the next sound effect, Lewis. It's time for topic of the show. Is this the first time that we're doing topic of the show ever since with the actual sound effect ever since we did video? Or I know we didn't do it last week,
No, we've done it.
but
I'm pretty
we've
sure.
done it, right? Okay.
I think
Okay.
so.
I can't remember how many video episodes we've done already.
Wait, this is our fourth
This feels
one.
like the third,
No, our fifth one
fourth.
actually.
Okay.
Fifth one.
Fifth one? Damn.
Yeah.
Time flies. We'll still be hitting like 50th like video episode and I will barely feel it. Louis, the funny thing is that when I passed it on to you to play the sound effect, I didn't know what you were gonna do, considering how long we've been running. I just kind of wanted you to surprise me. Because I figured maybe you would want to, go straight to like one of the final segments or something like that. But we can still. I don't know about you, but I'm still in the groove. I can still keep rocking and stuff.
We can
Um,
make this quick. I don't think we can. We can. I think we can cap it at 15 minutes and still have a reasonable show.
Okay,
So
cool. Sounds good. Sounds good. So you know what I brought in for a topic of the show here today is this article by Wired. It was written by Peter Rubin, and it's called "5 Years After the Oculus Rift: Where do VR and AR go next?" A lot's happened since Facebook's first headset brought virtual reality to the masses. Facebook might have been a first mover, but it also wants to be the last one. I don't know how I feel about awarding that recognition to Facebook because they just kind of bought Oculus. They
yeah,
they
I
were the
know.
ones that were already doing shit, right? Um, and the article is just kind of like a read on what has happened through the years and where VR could be.
Of course. Dang. It would have been a miracle if you managed to load in again.
Didn't work this time.
Didn't work this time.
All right, let's do it.
There we go.
Making note of the time code for cleaning the stuff up on the audio version, as always. Anyway, so as I was saying, I just wanted to bring up the article just kind of as a conversation starter and just kind of run with it with our own thoughts. Lewis, it's been 5 years. We've had, the Oculus Rift and the Vive and PlayStation VR, and then we had Oculus Quest and the Quest 2 and all the mobile VR headsets as well. You got Gear VR on uh there's the Switch Labo VR thing as well. There's been
There's
all sorts of VR
there
things.
was the cardboard VR as well.
Yeah, like
Google
Google
Cardboard.
Cardboard, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All kinds of stuff have happened. How do you feel? I just wanted to ask you the question, like, how do you feel about the state of VR right now, these last 5 years, and also where do you think it's going?
Okay, honestly, real talk. I honestly think that it's gonna die. Like I am,
Hmm.
I was a firm believer, and I jumped on the bandwagon. I'm like, I got the PlayStation VR day one. I got one of those like plastic shell things where you can put your phone in and slide it in, and just have your
Hmm.
phone on there. And I use like YouTube VR. I was really big on it, and I was thinking to myself, man, this is the future. This is next level entertainment and stuff like that. And to a certain extent, it is. It's really cool being like virtually in like in a virtual room and like 3D space and stuff. I think it's really cool to have like at home concert experiences, especially with COVID and stuff. I think that those are really awesome, but I also think that unless this technology becomes super uber convenient with like no cords, no wires, and I think that you know it may not necessarily catch on to the masses. I think it might even just stay as a niche product and stuff like that. Like I don't see, I've tried, I've put the VR headset on like on my mom and dad and stuff like that, and they're cool. They like it and stuff like that. They're very like in awe of like of some of like the more realistic stuff, and I just don't see that being like a general like audience is like massly like a mass adopting it. Um,
Hmm.
I mean, I can see a situation where it gets better and it gets more like more pixel like pixel peeping and stuff like that, where you're like, damn, this looks like real life kind of stuff. And of course, I mean that's usually where technology is going to go. But I've also been seeing the reason why I wanted to talk about this as well is because there has been more applications for VR than just gaming and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
like porn.
yeah, yeah. Well, obviously, yeah. I wasn't gonna go there actually, but there was a story that came out this week that like Microsoft landed a like $15 billion contract with the U.S. military for like 10 years, over the course of 10 years, where they won the bid or whatever. And what they're gonna do is, I don't know if you remember, but there was the Hololens. There was that Hololens
Hmm.
E3 demo where they had like a table, and then the Hololens like created like a virtual Minecraft world where you can see
Hmm.
and you can like look at the table from any angle. Well, so what they're gonna do is Microsoft bought the Hololens. For like for the military purposes and stuff like that. So what they're gonna do is they're gonna basically use the Hololens for training to like where you can like
Hmm.
virtually see like a layout, and you can like toggle like different like thermal and like and night vision and all that stuff like that, where you can see the bodies and you can see like tactical like layouts of like make the left here, shoot here, that kind of stuff, like basically like 3D blueprints and stuff like that, instead of like looking at a layout and like a paper map and stuff like that. Now you have like a full like 3D like virtual table, and very smart stuff. It's very like Mission Impossible, like Tony Stark esque level technology, where you think about like the future, and like that's some sci-fi shit right there. And I think that
Yeah.
that's some interesting like technology like application that we didn't really think about. But I guess gaming is just like the natural like baby steps that you get there. And ultimately though, I'm just not seeing a situation where like, unless there's like a Mario 64, which everyone thought that one Astrobot Playroom or Astrobot VR was going to be that, but I don't know if there is really going to be a situation where there's going to be a Mario 64 for VR. So yeah.
Okay, so let me start with that one. So the interesting thing is that I feel like we as gamers have created this theory that a console needs a killer app to be successful, and a console is successful when it has one, and unsuccessful when it doesn't, and all this stuff. And I used to believe that, but nowadays I don't. And the reason why I don't is because I've observed in recent history that a lot of the things that have been successful did not necessarily have a killer app, at least not in the beginning. And there have been things that did have one or had, I don't know, like potential for it, and that just still didn't succeed. So I feel like it's kind of almost like an undersimplification of a bigger issue of, marketing and getting stuff sold and making stuff go popular. Let me give you a good example of that. The PS4. Um, I think the PlayStation 4 is such a fascinating console to look at, and it's one that has broken so many beliefs that I had before it, because the PlayStation 4 did not launch with a killer app of any kind. The PlayStation 4, in fact, did not have any majorly successful exclusive for a while. Like the first PS4 exclusive that was a Game of the Year contender was The Last of Us. Oh, sorry, not The Last. The Uncharted 4 in 2016. After the PS4 was already in the market for 3 years. Now there was an Infamous game before that. There was Bloodborne before that. But those games are arguably more niche. They appeal to a certain audience. They were not system selling games. And yet, the first 3 years of the PS4, with no major killer app or huge exclusive, sold more than at that time any other console ever had in that time frame, right?
Hmm.
Um, so I feel, and a lot of times, we've seen consoles before that come out and have really good games like the Wii U, but just fail to make an impact. And you look at the Switch coming out and having mostly the same games as the Wii U for the first, year or two of its development, and obviously not exactly, but Splatoon 2, which is basically Splatoon, and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which was a Wii U game ported, and then eventually Smash Brothers Ultimate, which the Wii U had Smash 4, which at that point was like equally cool and all that stuff. And yeah, the Switch was hugely successful, and the Wii U wasn't. Also, Breath of the Wild coming out on both, right? Um, so I don't know. I guess I don't think there is any killer app that could have sold a VR. And I feel like if there was, then we already got it, because we got Half-Life Alex, which was arguably one of the best games of last year. We got Astrobot Rescue Mission, which was arguably one of the best games in 2018, if I remember correctly. We got things like Beat Saber. We got things like Super Hot VR, Job Simulator. We've gotten a lot. And there's a few other ones as well that I'm not thinking of right now, but we've gotten a lot of really good, recognized, critically acclaimed VR games already. And yet, VR has still not made that jump from a luxury hardcore item to mainstream appeal. So I guess my point in saying that is, at the end of the day, I don't think it's the game's fault, at least not anymore. Like that, I don't think VR's success is because we our VR's lack of success perhaps is because of a lack of good games. or lack of a killer app. I think it goes deeper than that, and I think it has to do more with what you said, like inconvenience of use is one of them. People's lack of interest or understanding what it is in a mainstream level is another one. Um, Not further development on other applications that are not gaming is another one too. Because I expected that after VR came out that we're gonna see things like, you were talking about the concert stuff, right? Like I thought we are gonna see a lot more of that than we did. Like I thought every band was gonna want to do that in some way. I thought it was gonna like, but it didn't get that appeal from those people either. Um, so I don't know, man. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I feel like VR's lack of success is like very complicated. It's almost like the world is not ready for it or something. Like I don't know. I don't it's hard to say that anything was done wrong. The technology has gotten better too. At this point, it's and the other thing too, and I'm going in a lot of different directions with this. It is a very open-ended question, right? State of VR. The experiences that I've had in VR were really cool. Like I really enjoyed them. I've had really good experiences with it, even from a development perspective. And yet, I never bought a VR headset myself. So
Whoa.
in a way, I'm part of the problem. Yeah, I do not own a VR headset, any VR headset. Um, and I don't know why. I just never felt compelled to make the jump. And it's also because like I just felt like the stars never align. And you're looking at me like you're very like confused, like you
Yeah, I'm looking
yeah,
at you with like a little bit of disdain as well.
disdain. Yeah.
Just kidding. No, yeah, I'm just this is I would never would have thought like someone who's I know you like your tech. I know you're very
Hmm.
curious when it comes to like programming and stuff like that. And yeah, it just seems like even just something as simple as phone VR is very like cheap. It's like a little $15
Hmm.
piece of plastic. Um, and not to
Oh,
mention
here's the other part though. Is like I hate phone VR, and I
oh
I say that as somebody that has worked on games for phone VR. I hate that shit. It's sucks. It's so bad. It's not what VR is supposed to be. That's my take on it.
I mean, I've tried it,
I
and
thought we are gonna just it again. Maybe
I
we are. I
tried
don't
it,
know.
and there was a couple of times where I was able to easily demo it and stuff with like some friends or coworkers and stuff like that. Where you just put on a little roller coaster in VR, or like there was like a Simpsons VR, and
Hmm.
like there was even like a whole Google Spotlight VR thing where you had like full on movies, and like there was like a cool 360 movie that I it was like a short movie that was really awesome, and yeah, I don't. As far as like your the whole technology thing, I mean, it is very like inconvenient. I mean, with the whole like Oculus Quest 2 and stuff like that, like they've been made strides to like make it so it's very more portable and stuff like that, and I think that's really cool. But it still has its way to catch on. And I actually wanted to say as a quick side note, when we were doing Temple of Time, I actually wanted to say that I completely forgot that the HTC Vive was even a thing. I just want to throw that out
Hmm.
there. So yeah.
Do you think? Um, do you think that there's perhaps like a limit of devices that can be successful at any given time? Like my point is like for a while I've heard this theory with the games industry that there can only be three big three. Like that. If a new one tries to join there can only be three successful console manufacturers that the market will not support any more than that. That if a fourth one tries to join, they are doomed to fail, or one of the other three are doomed to fail to let the other person take that role. So that's why we had like Atari and Nintendo and like Sega back in the day, and then Atari came out as PlayStation joins the scene later, and then Sega is out, and then we got Xbox, and then we're stuck with Nintendo, Sony, and Xbox for a while. So, is it that we just have so many devices already with our phones and our computers and our iPads and our Apple Watches and all that stuff that there's not really that much room for more like, and I'm not talking about me or you specifically, right? Like I've been wanting to buy a VR headset for the longest time. I just haven't found the right one for me yet, and at this point I feel like it's going to be the PS5 VR one. But for average consumer, like, could it be that they go like, I don't know, like I already have all these other things that I gotta charge and deal with. Like, same reason why people don't buy portables anymore, right? Like I know the Switch is successful as a hybrid, but like is the 3DS, they stopped the 3DS line, and Sony got out of the market for portable systems for a reason, right? It's like people didn't
Phones
want to carry, yeah,
phones
like
took
people didn't
over.
want to carry like a phone in a pocket and a DS on the other, or a PSP on the other. They just wanted a phone, right? Like they just wanted the one device that did it all. So could it be that you're actually onto something, bringing up the mobile VR so much that maybe that's the only way that it could succeed is on the mobile side, because people already have the device. It's not another thing that people need to buy and set up and think about.
Probably, I would say that
Hmm.
in general, like the market is very it's not necessarily infinite with like infinite spending and stuff like that. So
Hmm.
consumers are gonna like like I am think I'm a rare breed. Of course, I don't think I because I buy everything under the sun and everything at the high
Hmm.
end. That's not a normal consumer behavior. Normal consumer behavior is going to tend to be more prudish or frugal or stretching the dollar
Hmm.
and stuff like that. People have lives and families that I don't have any of that. So the that being said, it makes sense for like people to be very limiting. I mean, even think about it this way: like I know people who only rock one console, and it's not because of like they hate the other consoles. Is that they can only choose one. It's like that
Right.
that one diagram that it's like you have a triangle of three things, but you can only pick two or something like that. So it's that kind of situation. And I think when it comes to VR, I mean, really VR is hasn't really been sold as anything that's really necessary, and I think it's more of a boutique thing. And um,
Yeah.
you know, the when something is niche like that, it's you have to find a reason as to why you want that to be popular. And I don't know if there is going to be a use case where it's like I don't know, it's chicken and the egg thing. Once you have 3D concerts, maybe that's going to be like a very appealing thing, but you're not going to make 3D concerts a thing unless enough devices are sold. So it's like whatever.
Yeah, and here's the other thing, right? Like this pandemic would have been the best opportunity for VR to really take on, right? Or take off.
Yeah.
And it didn't, right? That's the thing I'm surprised about. Like, imagine all the sorts of things that you could have had going on had VR taken off, right? Like had VR really become really successful and a lot of people bought VR in the beginning of the pandemic or something. Maybe we could have had like real concerts throughout this whole time frame, right? Like maybe we could have had things where you pay for it, and you get to like watch this concert on the front row in VR, and maybe they're actually even like performing it live somewhere, and as you're like watching it as if you were right there. Like this was the best opportunity to do that, and I feel like it wasn't done enough, right? Not in a way that I heard about it.
But the solutions were always simpler, though. Instead of going in VR, you just do a Fortnite concert, or you
Yeah.
just do Zoom meetings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's something that's much more
True.
convenient and easy. Something that's on your phone, like Zoom, the Zoom app and stuff
Hmm.
like that. That's gonna be a much easier sell or each easier solution to give to people. So yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I don't want to go on this much longer. We've been on the podcast for a while,
Yep.
but yeah, my final thoughts are basically just that, like, no, I have not bought a VR headset yet, so I'm part of the problem, despite the fact that I'm finally like engaged in the community, in other ways. And I just keep waiting for the device that is the most convenient, affordable, and not owned by Facebook. So like those are my three requirements here. And I hopefully like the next PSVR will be that. We'll see. Um, and and I think it still has a chance to succeed. I don't think it's gonna be a killer app that will do it though. I think it's gonna be more of like there will need to be million or thousands of killer apps that are
Hmm.
just like that are not even necessarily games. My point is like it needs to become some ubiquitous kind of situation where if you buy this thing there's so much how there's so much stuff that you can get out of it, other than just playing these school few games or whatever. That's when I think it could really take off. Now whether the market is going to be able to support that, whether it's going to be like a chicken and the egg situation where we never get that because there's not enough people that have it, we'll know. We'll see in the future, right? We can do this topic again in 5 years and see where we're at then.
Separate side note to end this
Hmm.
topic is I got a code from Level One Gaming to review a VR game. So
Oh, cool,
I have a VR
cool.
game review, and I'm not going to say the title because I don't know. I am not a no. I personally do not know what I'm allowed to say or whatever. So I just basically err on the
Hmm.
side of don't say anything. But I can tell you that the embargo lifts on April 14th, which is in 2 weeks. So by episode 65, I'll have the review published and I can talk about it. So,
Awesome. All right, Lewis. With that ending our topic of the show, I'm gonna let you take over the show and take us home.
all right.
What are you buying?
Okay, so new releases. Just like because it's my turn to do new releases, we're basically at a situation where there is no damn new
I
releases.
know, right? It's like there's a good one though. There's a good one, which is the one you're gonna read.
Yes. So first up is Lost World Beyond the Page, which is coming out on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC on April the 6th. Also on April the 6th is Oddworld Soulstorm. Coming out on PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, and PC. It says here, witness Abe's horrifying conflict with a terrifying new machination, a fresh narrative, a complete story retake, and a complete story retake inspired by our original tale. A big visual and cinematic leap aiming to break new ground for Oddworld. Intelligent new mechanics, twisted new devices, enabling highly explosive deviousness. A dark parable that tells an epic tale of a volatile society pushed to its limits. So there you go. That's Oddworld Soulstorm. So
It's crazy that that game is finally coming out, by the way, because I think that game has been in development for a really long time.
yes, and also funny enough is just a quick peek at what's going to happen on Broke Gamers Guide is that it's actually going to be free for PS Plus people, day and date. So there we go.
Yep.
Last up is going to be Before Your Eyes, which comes out on PC on April the 8th. So those are the new releases. Not a whole lot going on there.
Yep.
Obviously, pick of the week is gonna easily go to Oddworld Soulstorm. No questions asked.
Yeah, I played an Oddworld game on PC when I was a kid, and I don't even know which one it was, but I had so much fun with that game. And it's like one of my oldest gaming memories, actually. So it's like a potential good sharing the love eventually. I just don't remember it very well. Like, so I kind of want to figure out which game it was based on like the time frame and looking at videos and etc. And then go back and replay it now to actually see if I have the flashbacks to my childhood and things like that. So yeah, it's a neat, interesting franchise.
I think I got like two Oddworld games on the PS4 that were like free for PS Plus because
Mhm.
you know what's kind of funny is I actually for the entire life cycle of the PS4, I redeemed every single PS Plus game, like all of them without missing one. And even still to this day, so it's kind of funny that my whole like library, and I downloaded them all, so my whole like 6 terabytes is on the PS4.
Oh my god. Okay, I gotta go on a tangent about this really
Okay,
quick. So Vita is it's the stores are closing like we covered earlier, right? So I started doing my research. I'm like, I want to figure out which games I want to buy from, PSP games and Vita original games and maybe even some PS1 classics and stuff like that. And then I realized that my memory card in the Vita is just 16 gigs. And
oh,
I think I'm not sure if that's the one that came with it or if it's one that I got like
it
around
does.
the time
It
frame.
doesn't come with the 16 gig. No.
Okay. So it's one that I probably bought around the time that I got my Vita. But then I figured, okay, well, we've had conversations about this in the podcast where, I'm the kind of person that will install the games I'm playing, uninstall them when I'm done, and then just install the ones I want to play next, right? So I usually storage is not usually a problem for me to the extent that it is a problem for you that needs to have everything installed at all times. However, with the shop closing and with me not really trusting Sony that much that I'm going to be able to download my games forever, I was like, okay, what if I wanted to have more storage on my Vita right now in 2021? And it turns out that if you want to do that, you're going to have to spend a lot of money nowadays. Number one, so the Vita uses these proprietary SD cards, as you may know, that were just built for the Vita around the time frame, sold around that time frame, and probably not really produced anymore. and are sold on the secondhand market at a really, they're already expensive. They're even more expensive on the secondhand market now at eBay, on eBay, right?
Yeah.
Number two, the biggest size that exists, that seems to exist,
64.
is 64 gigs, which is not even that much, right? So really, if you have a good collection of Vita games, and some of them are big, some of these games are like multiple gigs, right? Like I actually bought the Jack and Daxter collection today for $10, and that itself by itself is 3 gigs. The two PS1 classics that I have, which are Castlevania 4 and Final Fantasy 7, are over like between 1 and 2 gigs each. Point is, it's pretty easy, if you start buying some games, to fill a 64 gig card too. So what then?
Yeah, honestly, like
you know?
this is what happened to me. I have every Vita game I have installed on my SD cards. What I did was day one, I knew that I'm a digital hoarder first off from day one. So day one, I bought the 32 gigabyte at GameStop when I bought the Vita, like with it. Like I just started with the, and it came with like the 4 gig or whatever is what it came with. So I have a 4 gig card which is empty, and then I have the 32 gig card. And when it ran out, I straight up imported a 64 gigabyte card because I bought it new, of course, officially from Sony. And it turns out that they never sold the 64 gigabyte card here in North America, like ever. So you had to import it, and that's how I got the 64 gig card.
That makes sense. Do you remember how much you paid for
It
it?
was 100. It was like just over $100. It might have been like 110.
Okay, you can probably get close to $200 for that right now.
Oh damn! I got
on
it at
eBay
steal.
if you sell it. Yeah,
So I
yeah.
got the 64 gig card, and what ended up happening was like over time, I actually what I did is I migrated everything over from my 32 gig card to my 64 gig card, and then I started rocking with that as my main driver, and then I filled that up, and I had to eject the 64 gig card, put the 32 gig card back on, and started redeeming all those PS Plus games. And then I think I have like filled up almost half of it or over half of it. So I think I have like at least 8 to 10 gigabytes of free on the 32 gig card. And I'm pretty sure like I think I even stopped downloading games. Actually, now that I think about it, I think I just started redeeming them without downloading them. So
Yeah.
yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, dude. So like that's something that I'm gonna have to figure out. If I don't want to spend $200 on a on a fucking SD card for a console I might not even ever play again. After already spending money on the games that I want to get.
that's
So
just the price of a
um
Vita.
yeah, I know, dude. It's insane. So I'm probably just gonna keep my 16 gig card and hope that I am forever able to continue to download the games I already own
Yeah, there you go.
from the store. But we'll see. Yeah.
All right.
Got a selection of good things on sale, stranger.
All right, so for the free games of the week for Epic Games is this week, you can get Tales of the Neon Sea, which, by the way, side note, I don't even remember if that was the game that was allegedly free last week. So I'm glad we always say allegedly because I usually try to remember the titles. Just saying. But allegedly next week is going to be a 3 out of 10 season 2, which I actually believe that one to be the case because 3 out of 10 season 1 was like given out for free, not even as a free game of the week, but just free in general. So there's no way in hell they're not going to do that. So, but for the blurb for Tales of the Sea, it says, "Welcome to a world of intrigue and suspicion where humans and robots contend with escalating tensions and mutual distrust, and where gangster felines scheme their way to the top of the food chain. Welcome to the Tales of the Neon Sea." It looks like a very pixel art game here, looking like Fez up in here. But yeah, it looks pretty cool, though. It looks very stylistic. I don't know what else to say about this game.
Cool.
All right. Next up is our PlayStation Plus games were announced for April, as well as the games with gold. Let's start off with PS Plus because that's more remarkable. Days Gone.
Shots fired.
Yeah, I know, right? Days Gone for the PS4, as well as Zombie Army 4. They're going to be the PS4 games. And Oddworld, the one that we mentioned on the new releases, that's going to be the PS5 game of the month. So it says here that let's go ahead and talk about. As it says, first up, Oddworld Soulstorm, which we already knew will be launched on April 6th. And it says here that it's the second chapter in the quintology with Oddworld New and Tasty and the remake of Oddworld Abe's Odyssey. It's considered the first game in the quintology. And then also it says regarding Days Gone, If you're a PS5 owner, you already have Days Gone as part of your PS Plus collection. But for your PS4 owners that don't have PS5s yet, which I'm pretty sure there's many of you out there, you can get Days Gone as the PS Plus game. I'm probably gonna redeem it anyways, just so I can have it on my account. But I don't even know what point that is, if it's always going to be part of the PlayStation Plus collection or whatever. So, whatever. Anyways, lastly, Zombie Army 4 Dead War. Never heard of it, but there you go. Next up, games with gold. Now, this is the part where, like, I probably should have led with this one because it's, it sucks, but we'll go with it. Vikings Wolves of Midgard is going to be free from April 1st to April 30th. And then from April 16th through May 15th is Truck Racing Championship. And then from April 1st to the 15th is going to be Dark Void. And lastly, from April 16th through April 30th is going to be Hardcore Uprising, which I heard people say that the Hardcore Uprising is like the best game of the four, which I mean, whatever, I'll take your word for it. So, yeah.
I actually think I have owned this Dark Void game at some point. In if it was like an older game, I think I owned it on the PS3 as part of there was this one time where a family member wanted to be nice and they went to GameStop and they just bought like a shit ton of used PS3 games and but they bought like the cheapest games kind of thing and gave it to us, and it had all sorts of random shit. And everything. I think Dark Void was one of them, and like old like sports titles and stuff like that. But anyway, that aside, I just want to say that one of the shitty things with games with gold that we never even talk about is that not only are the games often worse than the PS Plus and just not that interesting. And I mean, nothing against these games and these developers, but just they're not really recognizable games most of the time. They're also like the delivery method is also more confusing because with PS Plus, it's like, okay, these are the games you get in April, period. Right? Sometimes they're not available on like April 1st. Sometimes you gotta wait a few days. But
It's the first
in
Tuesday
general,
of the month. It's always
yeah,
the first Tuesday of the month. Yeah.
yeah. It's like here are the games that are gonna get this month for the majority of the month, right? Or the whole month. And with Xbox, it's like, well, you got this game from 1 to 30th, and then this game from 16 to May 15, and then this game from April 1st to April 15th, and then this other game from April 16th to April 30th. Like each one of those 4 games has a different
timetable.
Timetable. Yeah, like, and it's confusing because like you can't, like if you're somebody that wants to redeem all your games with PS Plus, you just got to log in once a month and redeem them. With Xbox, you got to do it in multiple. Like if you wanted to redeem all of these games, you want to go in between like in the first 2 weeks of April to make sure you can get Dark Void. Then in the second 2 weeks of April to make sure you can get Hard Corps, and then Vikings if you if you didn't get it before, and then also potentially Truck Racing between then and May 15th. I don't know. It's just that's also bad.
Real talk. I'd said that I never missed out on PS Plus, but I actually missed a couple of like games with golds when they was good. Like my biggest regret was missing out on Super Meat Boy for the 360 because apparently like the PS4 version of which I have, by the way, on PS Plus, Super Meat Boy for the 360 had the better soundtrack, is my understanding of it. So I just sucks that like that whole like staggered thing is like I constantly had to make sure that my Xbox One never collected dust, so that way I can just turn it on. And there were times where I just neglected it, and there were a couple of misses that I regret like not getting, like Super Meat Boy being one of them. So
yeah, I sometimes redeem these games, but more often than not, I don't even make a point to do it. Even if I am playing my Xbox Series X on that day, I just don't care for it. I just like you got to find, it's not that convenient to find the menu where you got to go to do it, and then you find it, and then you got to like redeem these games, and then it automatically starts downloading them, which I don't like.
Oh yeah.
I maintain what I've said before, where I think games with gold, like it's time, dude. Like it feels like a dead, like I don't know, it feels like this dead like horse that Microsoft is just trying to keep alive. And you can see the struggle, right? Like you can just get it done with. Like a lot of people keep their games, but just get it done with. I don't know.
Oh my god. All right.
Yeah.
Next up, we got the spring sale happening on PlayStation. It looks like more of the same. Like I'm not seeing anything new, but I see Assassin's Creed Valhalla for $40, Ghost of Tsushima for $40, and Red Dead Redemption 2 for 30, Last of Us 2 for 30, and yeah, it doesn't seem anything too remarkable. I guess No Man's Sky is for some reason still being sold for $60, but is being marked down to 30. So that's interesting. Anything on the spring sale that's actually that you saw that's worth noting?
Yes, actually, it's not on the first page or even on any of the first few pages, but there's this game called The Pedestrian, which I keep trying to make a point not to forget about. This is a game that we saw in one of the events last year. We covered the event, whatever it was, in the podcast, and I shouted it out because I was like, "That game looks cool." Which is a game where you play as a little like stick figure in like throughout like these traffic signs. You're going from like one traffic sign to another and doing these little platforming puzzles or whatever. And that game came out number one, and that game is discounted on the sale from $20 down to like 12. So not, like a huge deal out there, but I've been eyeing that game for a bit, so I think I'm gonna go and get that. And you can play that on PS4 and PS5.
Huh. So I just saw when I was scrolling through these pages, I actually found Dreams for $13. So
Nice.
there you go.
I would say it's worth it. I would say you should get that.
Yeah. So then also Dragon Ball Z Kakarot for $24. So yeah, that's a pretty good spring sale happening here. I hope that I don't see it anywhere on here, but I hope that that Scott Pilgrim game is still on sale because I need to get that game.
Oh
Also,
yeah, I gotta get that too.
I just look. I think that's the reason why I say that. I remember that PS2 game that we talked about that was like turning like 15 years old or something like that. It was like Ace Combat 7. I think that's the same franchise if I'm not mistaken. So I saw that on the
Oh yeah, yeah,
sale.
yeah.
Anyways, yeah, the spring sale for PlayStation. If you're a PlayStation owner, you're getting a lot of good AAA like PS4 games here, including I see God of War, but that's part of the PS Plus collection, so whatever. Anyways, next up, there's an Epic Games Store sale. There's a spring sale happening on Epic Games. By the way, separate side note for you for Brooks Gamers Guide, we never actually cover. I'm pretty sure there was some Steam sales happening at some point, but whatever.
I looked for them this time, but I didn't see anything substantial, so I skipped that. But yeah, we don't do a good job of covering PC game sales as we
Yeah.
do console.
Yeah, so Steam sales they're a thing, and I feel like we missed out on some, but whatever. Anyways, um, yeah, Epic Game Store they got like Grand Theft Auto 5 for 30 or for $15 actually, marked down from 30. Which by the way, they gave it away for free on Epic Game Store one time, if you know. But whatever.
Hmm.
$45 for Hitman 3. I see Watch Dogs Legion for 30. Immortals Phoenix Rising for 30. Yeah, nothing here other than anything here that you want to shout out specifically.
What's the word that like what would be the opposite of a sale, right? Like, cause what I was gonna say is that whenever Watch Dogs Legion and Immortals Phoenix Rising, like any of these Ubisoft games are sold for $60, like it's almost like that's the that's when they're marked up, like as opposed to them being on sale. Like it's like these games are never on sale. They're just very rarely, occasionally marked up to $60.
Hmm. I see Hades marked down $5 from 25 to 20. The Last Campfire from Hello Games for $10. Also, look at that, a
Oh
beautiful
wait, wait,
10.
wait, 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 wait. Wait, The Last Campfire from Hello Games?
Yeah.
Developers of No Man's Sky, that came
Yes.
out?
Yeah.
Okay.
We talked
Uh,
about it on like on new releases, like The Last Campfire is out on Switch and everything, all that
Did
stuff.
we?
Yeah.
Okay, cool, cool. All right, all
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, it's for $10. You can get it right now on Epic Games. Also, I just want to just jab and poke fun at this. There's a Cyberpunk 2077 is marked down from $60 to $54. Oh my
Ah,
God. That is such a
that's
steal.
bullshit. Such bullshit. All right, cool. All right.
Next up. All right, the Microsoft Store spring sale. Man, everyone's like doing spring sales. So
Yes.
Microsoft Store spring sale. I'm guessing this is through like the digital shop here. Yeah, it looks like actual hardware, like hard drives and Surface Pros and stuff. What should I be looking for?
Um, why don't you move on and I try to find what's going on here?
Okay, all right. Last up, there's a GameStop spring sale that's going on, so you can find 10% save $10 on some Nintendo Switch games like Splatoon 2, Super Mario Odyssey, and Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. I see a 5 for $50 for anything that's under $20 and pre-owned. So you mix and match there. So yeah, it looks like and if you like physical games, this is definitely going to be a good sale to take advantage of, especially because a lot of the sales that we talk about here on Broke Gamers Guide tend to be digital sales. So yeah, 50% off for Xbox One games or just games in general. This is what it says here on this ad. So yeah, it looks like let me check a look to see how long this sale is running for because I may want to take advantage. It says here that the spring sale is going on until April the 3rd. So that's basically you have until tomorrow, the day of this podcast releasing, to take advantage of your in-store sale goodness here. So yeah, Dan, back to you. What you got for Xbox?
Yeah, so it's very similar to the sale with the PlayStation sale and stuff. So they got some deals for the Ubisoft games, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Immortals Phoenix Rising, Watch Dogs Legion. They also got some deals on Forza Horizon 4, Hitman 3 you can get for $45. That game just came out like last month, I think. Then you got Star Wars Squadrons. There's some deals there too. Marvel's Avengers is $30. Borderlands 3 is $20. Control Ultimate Edition is $20. Um, and The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt $7.99. So just a lot of different deals with Xbox games. Just very similar stuff. So yeah, we don't need to get
Okay.
these things different things will appeal to different people, but ultimately good time to go and check your digital store of choice and see if the games on your wish list are on sale because good chance they are.
Yeah, very more than likely. We didn't cover Nintendo here, but I'm pretty sure Nintendo's probably having a spring sale too. So it's like everyone's on sale, and this is a good time
Yeah.
to snag some games here. All right,
Yeah.
I'm finally.
I've almost been debating, Lewis, on changing how we cover sales on this show. I wanted to bring this up to you because there's just too much. You know what I mean? Like, and I feel like we end up just repeating ourselves a lot because there's just
The same
and it's
sales.
also
Yeah.
yeah, it's like the same sales, and also like we can't like I don't know how much value we really bring to people when we say, well, this game is always on sale and this game is on sale, when it would probably be better off for them to just kind of go and look at it themselves, right? To see what game they care for. So I was wondering if maybe what we should do instead is that each one of us brings like one deal that we consider the deal of the week, right?
Ah.
So and it could be like I don't know whatever we think that is like, and it could come from these sales, but whatever we think is like the most like unusual, like hey, like this game is not on sale often, but it is right now kind of thing, or this
Like we
game
did
is
with
really good and it's
Dreams.
marked
Yeah.
down a lot. Yeah,
Like we
like
did with Dreams or something like
yeah,
that. Yeah.
and we spotlight that like almost like here's like the Ready Press Play sponsored deal of the that we're gonna spotlight today or whatever. But anyway, it's a conversation for another time.
All right.
Let's
Yeah.
bring the sucker home.
Yeah. I'm tired.
It is time to end. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Ready Press Play. Remember, you can reach the podcast at readyplaynetwork.com or simply at Ready Press Play on Twitter or TikTok. Remember to watch us on Level 1 Gaming's YouTube channel. Go and subscribe to that. Give us a like if you're watching it here. Remember, while you're on YouTube, also go and check out the Ready Press Play channel itself. Also give us a subscribe and some likes there on the videos that we have available. Our Halo Combat Evolved spoiler cast is the last thing that we put out over there. We're probably going to be putting out some new stuff as well. I'm on Twitter at the Dan Lima, and Lewis.
At Chakalaka88.
That's right. Don't forget to subscribe, give us a review, tell your friends about the show, and all that good stuff. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.
Peace.